Performance-based equity compensation is a form of compensation where instead of paying the employee a fixed number of shares of stock for working at a company over time, it's based on a performance criteria first. So instead of just saying that if you work for the company for X number of years, you can earn a certain number of shares per year, instead you would basically pay the compensation by having some sort of typically objective performance-based milestone that the individual has to hit, whether it be company-based, whether it be individual-based, and once those objectives are hit, you would get a number of shares of stock. It started back in 2011 when DoddFrank was enacted. They required public companies to have a say on pay vote. And that say on pay vote has given shareholders a voice in executive compensation. So because of that vote, large public companies, to appease shareholders, began doing performance-based types of compensation. And as time has gone on, that has trickled down to more of the mid-cap companies and is going to the smaller companies. And even in some cases, it's making its way down to private companies. But what Say on Pay has actually done is it's really opened up the dialogue between shareholders and the companies, and boards and compensation committees and management is much more willing to listen to shareholders, and shareholders have taken a more active role in commenting on executive compensation. I mean, the agreements are structured like other types of stock compensation awards, meaning the employee gets an agreement for a fixed number of shares. What's interesting is that fixed number of shares can move up or move down based on the performance. And the performance, which is set forth in the agreement, is typically some sort of milestone, whether it's corporate-based, based on earnings, based on revenues, even based on earnings relative to your peers or others in the industry. The most important thing for boards to consider when structuring the awards is the goal and what are they trying to achieve. And it has to be a reasonable and obtainable goal. It also has to be a goal that would motivate the employees in a way that they feel like they can actually make a difference and achieve that goal. And lastly, it also has to appease the shareholders. Public companies in their public company disclosure documents, set forth what they plan to do and sort of what their public goals are. And in some way, the individual goals need to make the same milestone so that everybody feels that the goals will improve the company's value. The pitfalls, especially for smaller companies, is making sure that you hit goals that are achievable. If you pick a goal where it could be based more on the market, for example, it could be revenue-based, but if the economy has a bad year or there's a bad year in that industry, the company may not achieve its revenues, but it may have done well against its peers, and so it actually had a successful year. So in making the goals achievable, even based on the larger economic environment. And the other big pitfall is once you've set the goals, not changing them, because that's one pet peeve of shareholders. They don't really want milestones that can continually be manipulated so that executives actually get that compensation without achieving what they thought were important events.